to you, my wonderful people. How are you doing this evening? I know it's the eve of Diwali, and I'm hoping, as a matter of fact, let me say, I would want to extend the Diwali greetings to especially our Hindu brothers and sisters who are going to be celebrating. And this light, all these lights that they are going to be lighting, it is saying that light will dispel evil. And we have had, for the last year, lots and lots of evil has been spread across our country. And I'm hoping that this Diwali, we are going to see a change happening here. Um, and so, to my brothers and sisters who are Hindu across the spectrum, whether you're here in Guyana or in the Caribbean where you're viewing me from, or in North America, wherever you are, happy Diwali to you. And I trust that again, we can use the lights from the DLs to help us have a mind change, have a different mindset, so that we can see each other as brothers and sisters, especially in Guyana, and that we are going to work for the development of this country, our beloved country. And so, wherever you are, thank you for being with us here on Advancing the Cause. It's another night where we are going to share with you lots and lots of important information, and where we are going to offer recommendations to this installed regime. Tonight, we've got quite a lot to talk about. We have a guest too. And so I want to start off quickly by sharing some of what has happened over the week. You know, it is so very hurting every time we have to lose a life. Every time we have to lose someone, it's so hurting. And I don't know what we are doing with regards to our security, our security services. I don't know what's happening there, but we have got to be able to put our hands on these things. Just last evening, we had reported, and it has been confirmed last evening, and it has been circulating all day today. Dr. Colin Roach was murdered in his office last night. And that's so very sad. And so, to his immediate family, his colleagues, and everyone else, I want to extend our heartfelt condolences to you, and to trust that God is going to be with you during this tragic experience that you have to go through. It is so sad. Children have lost their father. A wife has lost her husband. And I mean, this can't be all right. We have seen over the last year numerous murders. And you know what? Coming out of all of these, we're hearing no stones are going to be left unturned. No stones are going to be left unturned. And while we're waiting for those stones to not be left unturned, homes, hearts are breaking, homes are being broken, vacant spaces are in homes. I mean, how many more do we have to wait for? How many more do we have to wait for? And I'm seeing there the circulation of those pictures on Facebook. Come on, come on. This is very, very, very repulsive. At this time when persons are hurting over tragic loss, persons are just circulating those pictures on Facebook. I mean, it's not right. And for those who are doing it, I would urge you to please stop, because you're not helping this situation in any way. Again, another sad note. We've lost a 24-year-old mother and her baby. What is happening at the New Amsterdam Hospital? What is happening in our health sector? Just over a month ago, we lost another mother at the New Amsterdam Hospital. A teacher from Upper Berbice River. She died and left her baby. Not even easing off of that, we had another mother losing her baby at the Georgetown Hospital. What is happening within the health sector? Somebody needs to say something to these people. And we cannot continue to hear, oh, we are launching investigations and you're launching investigations. After the launch of the investigation, what? Nothing. There's no report coming to the public to say this is what happened or that is what happened, and persons have been sanctioned. Come on, just last year we were bubbling with this word all over the place. Sanctions and sanctions and sanctions. What is happening now? We should be calling for sanctions for the installed Minister of Health and his advisors. This is crazy. Somebody needs to take stock of what is happening in the health sector. And while we're coming off of that, we have COVID and the deaths. All these COVID deaths, 900 plus COVID deaths. And it's not easing. It's not easing. We have the deaths, increased in deaths and increased in COVID cases. Come on, Frank, what are you doing? It seems as if you don't know what is happening and you don't know how to ease what is happening. You, your advisors, and everybody. It seems as if y'all don't know what to do. If you don't know, there's a simple way out. Ask. If you don't know, ask. And you're going to get help. We have a COVID task force. We had competent people who served on that task force. It was dismantled, disbanded. You have persons on the task force there now. Some of them might be very competent, but some of them don't understand what is happening. And so why we talk about inclusiveness and inclusion, but it's only talks, quite a lot of words, only talks. And so 24 years old mother and child, 24-year-old mother has died and her child. And again, just over a month ago, we had those persons, that mother who died. And we cannot afford to have these things happening. We cannot afford to have it happening. We can't. And so come on, let's be able to resolve these problems. Let's be able to resolve them. The thing about it is, we are having the same complaints coming from persons. The same complaints coming from persons, where persons are saying to us, and they're complaining in the media and all over, about the kind of atrocious treatment that is being meted out to them. The parents of this little 24-year-old young lady, her husband spoke about the treatment that was meted out to them. Come on, we have to do something about it. It seems as if we are back to the days of pre-2015, May 11th, pre-2015. It seems as if we're going back to those days. And when it's not that, it's deaths on the road. Somebody has got to be able to say something. Too many deaths on our roads. So we have deaths, maternal deaths are on the increase. Deaths on the roads are on the increase. Murders are on the increase. COVID is on the increase. Curfew, our curfew time has been increased. The only thing that is not being increased at this time is the salaries of the poor and ordinary public servants. No increases. No increases whatsoever. Come on, y'all, address these issues. Address these issues. And then we move to the courts. Come on, Anil. Anil, you're trying to run this race and you're not capable. You're not capable of running this race. Looks like peace. Congratulations, to Honorable Roysdale Ford, SC. We're so proud of you, and we're proud of what you're doing for the ordinary Guyanese people. When they jump high, you don't make a lot of noise, because we've learned that empty barrels make the most noise. And so you don't jump when Anil starts to jump and wave and go on like his head in good. But you know exactly what you and your team have got to do. And you've been doing that, and we're seeing the results of it. So, congratulations to you, Honorable Roysdale Ford, SC, for another victory in court. And we're going to have many more victories, many, many more victories. And so, the installed Attorney General, you're gonna find your rightful place. You are going to find your rightful place. Again, we've seen Anil misleading the catfish president and his cabinet. Again, misleading them, wrong information. Anil, you need to stop this thing. You really, really need to stop this thing, Anil. We can't deal with people can't take it anymore from you. People can't take it anymore from you. Stop this nonsense. And then we move to the we saw the installed president who was refusing to meet with the opposition leader. Well, I don't know. Maybe some lashes felt in somewhere, but he is now prepared to meet with the opposition leader with no conditions attached. Well, you know what? I know that the opposition leader is smart because we are with him and we know what he does. We know how he operates. Some people would say, "Oh, he always writing letters and he writing letters and he writing letters," but they're paying off because the installed president, he wants to meet with him now. He wants to talk. But don't just go out there when the media ask you questions and respond to the media wildly, Mr. Catfish President. We urge that you would think carefully before you speak, and that you not only speak, you do the correct thing by writing to the opposition leader. And so we're not going to get excited about this big flam in the newspaper and on social media where the installed president is saying he's ready to talk with the opposition leader. We are waiting for the proper documentation, and then we are going to respond to you. So for our viewers out there, these are some of the hits that we have, the highlights that we have on our program this evening. And I know that, yes, you are waiting for them and you are in tune with what is happening. But I think we're going to go right into what we want to do and to bring our guests in. We're going to bring our guests in studio. I'm hoping, yes, oh yes, he's right here. Our guest is right here. I know folks, yes, I know folks are looking and they're saying, in the ring, where is Sherrod? But Sherrod is not here at this time. Sherrod comes on at 8, and Sherrod is going to be with you then. But tonight we have on our program a very fine young man. This young man is a true son of the soil. He has served the people of Guyana, and he's ready and willing at all times to serve. And so we have him here with us tonight. Good night to you, Mr. Sharma, and welcome to Advancing the Cause.
Good night to you, Honorable. I'm happy to be here on your program, my first time, and to the viewers and listeners. I hope my contribution will be something of importance.
Well, Mr. Sharma, we, I think quite a lot of persons, they know the name, but they might have seen you on one or two occasions. But I want you to share with us very quickly, who is Mr. Jaipal Sharma? Outside of what some people might have known about you before, could you say to those viewers who are viewing for the first time, who is Mr. Jaipal Sharma?
Well, as you know, I'm around for some time. I'm not new. I'm not a new face in politics. I got involved in politics sometime in 2010. I was a member of the opposition under the APNU, and I became a minister in 2015 under the APNU AFC government.
Mm-hmm.
I held two portfolios. One was in the Ministry of Finance, Minister within the Ministry of Finance, and also I held a portfolio for a short period at the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. And thereafter, I went on to join the PNCR, and then I formed my own party, the Equal Rights and Justice Party.
Okay, nice. So we have a man here with us who is no stranger to these kinds of programs, no stranger to politics. Mr. Sharma, we have seen I've seen several of your writings, but I've seen the most recent one, and this is what we have been talking about too. Your most recent writing, which talked about the irregularities that are happening in Parliament under this speaker that we have here, a speaker who we all know is not fair in his judgment. We know that. And so I just want you to elaborate on what would have caused you to pen the kind of information you penned a couple of days ago in the newspaper.
Well, it's not now I write in relation to constitutional matters and breaches of the Constitution. And, the PAPC government, you could say since they entered government in October the 5th, 1992, they breached the Constitution of this country. And they continue to breach the Constitution of this country. And I just pointed that out because as a party leader, I will receive many questions from young people uh, and ordinary persons that want to know more about the Constitution, about the laws of the country, how they apply, and they're having difficulties in following the Constitution. Apparently, the now government, the PUPC government, have a problem with the Constitution. They do not follow the Constitution. And you did mention the Honorable Rysdale Ford and his number of court cases in which he all was victorious, and it was all about breaches of the Constitution. As you know, the first one that he had was in relation to the president of the country appointed one of his minister, and then went on to appoint the minister a member of parliament. So that is Minister Waldron, and he would appoint her sometime around the 5th of August 2020, and thereafter she took the oath of a member of parliament. The court ruled on that matter and said both of the appointments was unconstitutional because the fact that she was a holder of a dual citizenship of a foreign country, and no other than the Chief Justice acting had ruled on that matter. And it's surprising that Minister Waldron is also uh, a former magistrate, a legal person, and should have known and respect the court decision. The president also, Muhammad Ali, should have respect the court decision. Knowing this fact, they still went ahead and appoint the person, the minister, and the person took the oath as a member of parliament, both in breach of the constitution. And after Rysdale won that case, what this government did, they went and secretly appoint her back as
Yes,
minister. Then she took the oath. That is only one of the victory, but then they went on and violate the constitution in the way that they treat constitutional agencies.
yes,
And I think you were part of one of those cases,
yeah, hmm,
right? So, and the court ruled in that matter, but this government have a separate understanding of the ruling. So why does the Honorable Rise therefore will say, look, I won the case. The PAP is saying we won the case, but I would have believed even the judge himself would have had some complication in understanding what was the amendment we had put when we were in government. Because remember, then I was at the Ministry of Finance,
yes,
and it was, and that is the issue there. So I reading from the newspaper what the judge would have apparently said. I didn't saw the actual ruling. There seems to be some confusion. I don't know if the matter was properly put to the judge, that he may not have a proper understanding. of the entire reason why the AP and new AFC government would have made that amendment to the Constitution and subsequently the Fiscal Management Accountability Act. And so we had that. And then recently, Risedale, the Honorable Risedale, won a next court battle similar to that one, but that is where the government did not present or allow the chairman of the PAC, then Mr. Patterson, to present
Yeah.
the Auditor General uh, budget, proposed budget to the Parliament as is prescribed in law. Okay, and the court ruled it was unconstitutional too. So these are a number of things, and don't forget again the
Parliamentary.
appointment of two parliamentary secretaries,
Mm-hmm.
which again violated the constitution, and the court ruled that you can't appoint these people because these people was on your list of candidates. And this is the Chief Justice acting again, saying, look, this these people are basically elected because they were on a list, and a lot of people don't understand the list system. When a party is elected into office, every single person on that list is deemed as elected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you had well, the PPP padded their list. They put more than what they would have they're supposed to have put according to law in terms of persons that they could have put as candidates. So basically, that entire list was elected. And so those two names, I believe, was Sarah Brong and Vikash Ramkisoon was on
Yes.
the list. So basically, what the judge was saying, and I don't know why the PVP can understand this after 23 years in government, that those persons are deemed to be elected already. So they cannot be unelected members because parliamentary secretary are unelected members. It means they're qualified to be elected, but they cannot be on a list. And so these are the things that the ordinary people do not understand. So you probably want to know why I'm saying the judge maybe had a difficulty understanding that judgment he would have made in relation to an amendment that the PPP themselves had made in 2021 to correct what we did, what they thought was something we did wrong. And so the court ruled on that amendment that they put and said their amendment was wrong in law.
Hmm.
It was basically unlawful because they repeated the same problem. The problem that they repeated was that they put these constitutional agencies as budget agencies.
Budget agencies, yes.
And that is what this government thought they did wrong. They said everything else was right. That is what they did wrong. But what the AP and AAFC did, which people don't understand, and apparently the learned judge did not probably get the grasp of, was that we wanted the constitutional agency not to be just administratively independent, but also financially independent.
Yeah.
So you must be autonomous, but not just administratively autonomous, but you must be autonomous financially. You must have that independence. So although we put this amended act in place, when the constitutional agency would have submitted the budget to the parliament and not to the Minister of Finance, Minister Jordan would have still went to Parliament when he would have looked at the constitutional agency, the 16th of them, and he would have, after the first year, he would have reduced it. Okay? The PPP kick up a big stink and say how we cut the budget, how we cut the budget, how we reduce the budget. And that is what the judge do not understand. So what the PPP is trying to say now is that they're the executive, and since we are the executive, we must see the budget before it goes to Parliament, and we, the executive, must cut it secretly.
Yes.
But what we was trying to do was let the thing come to the people. So when the Minister of Finance do reduce it, the people must know what they asked for and what it was reduced by. That is transparency. And that is what the AP new
Mhm.
AFC government wanted. That is what the judge apparently failed to recognize and understand. There's nothing wrong with you sending you when I said you, nothing wrong with the 16th constitutional agency sending the budget proposal to the National Assembly through the clerk of the National Assembly. Nothing wrong with it. Through the Parliament, nothing wrong with it, because what that shows is that it's now transparent. You recognize the independence of these constitutional bodies, and that the entire nation saw that it asked for example, 10 billion, but the minister say, no, I only can give you 9 billion. But the minister will say the reason why. And Minister Jordan would have said, you know what? I gave you 10 billion last year, but you didn't spend 10 billion. You only spent 9. And you come this year and you ask me for 10 again, so I don't give you 9. And that is the justification. That is transparency. But if this government now received that budget in the Ministry of Finance and the people ask for 20 and you give them 9, do you think the public know what that agency asks for? No.
No.
And that is what apparently the learned judge would, lose grasp of. I don't know how the case was argued, and so I can't say much, but it's very important that the people understand what we try to do, and done, and how it worked. And it was very transparent to not only to the constitutional bodies but to the public at large. Because here we were reducing the budget, but we had to give a reason. And one of the other reasons also is that cannot give those money to these constitutional agencies if they don't show the ability to spend the money, because you could affect the government or the executive program activities. Because if you give them the money, you could reduce the fiscal space that the government would have to spend in other areas.
Mhm.
Right? So it's very important. So
So,
again, what the PPP is trying to do is what the phrase was coined by, then, well, still honorable, but then minister and opposition member, uh, uh, Cameron Ramjatan, control freakism. And if they don't have control, they go crazy. They go
mhm.
berserk, right? So a lot of people don't understand that rule. And so when people from the government is saying the judge rule in our favor, and otherwise they'll say no, the judge rule in APUFC favor. It's confusing to the people. And the people don't understand the argument behind what we did. And that is what I'm explaining to you. And so you mentioned my post, and my post was in relation to how we address and recognize and record the prime minister of the country. He's not just prime minister of the country as the PPP wants the world to believe. He's also the first vice president and prime minister of this country. Now,
Mhm.
the PPP canvass and always canvass in an election that they are a political party for all races. I used to make joke and say, no, they mean racist and not racist. Right? So, this is actually true. As I mentioned, since 1992, they would have done this. And so they never respect the prime minister of the country. And I'm speaking about Samines, you
Mhm.
know, and they never respected him. So here they have an opportunity to be different. Here they have an opportunity to be different because in their 23 years of government, they never had a vice president.
Yes,
Somebody
that's
could ask them why they never had a vice president. They had presidential advisors, but they never had vice president because they didn't want to seem like if they're Barnum kind of administration where Barnum had three, four vice
mhm.
presidents. So they shy away
Mm-hmm.
from this thing of vice president. But they have presidential advisor Gail Tashir herself,
Was a
November
presidential advisor.
herself. They were presidential advisors receiving $1 million, and I'm speaking about 10 years ago,
Yes. Yes.
receiving $1 million. But you know, they never treat them as vice president, but presidential advisors, because they don't want to seem like if they're born on or PNC. So now, because this former president wants to have power, they decide they got to make him vice president.
A
It's
vice
no
president.
other than the presidential candidate himself, Muhammad Ali, would have announced in the kitchen of critic program that he's going to make Jagdeo his vice president. But vice president is nothing big. David Lincoln had how many? So why, Muhammad Ali saying, I'm going to make Jagdeo vice president something big? Because the plan was to indeed make it big.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
what that post was trying to bring out is a conspiracy that was hatched that is unconstitutional. So the Constitution is clear in the article of the Constitution, Article 101, 101, 2, and 102, 1 and 102, 2 of the Constitution is very clear. It's that those are the articles that speaks to the appointment of the Prime Minister, Vice President. And it speaks about when the president decides that he wants other vice president, the first vice president goes to the prime minister. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I I I put two pictures, one of the AP and UAFC prime minister and one of the PUPC prime minister, and I would have shown how the parliament recognized the AP and UAFC prime minister. Here is no other than Nagamutu himself being
Mm-hmm.
recognized as first vice president and prime minister. Okay, this is under AP and UFC, a party that they say, you know, we are, we just want power for ourselves. The PNC is controlling the AP and UAFC. It doesn't mean change, and we are sort of racist in the party. Here, David
Mm-hmm.
Granger, His Excellency David Granger is recognizing Nagamutu, the Honorable Nagamutu, as first Vice President and
Yeah.
Prime Minister. He didn't just recognize him. The Honorable Nagamutu was in the President of Compound. That was his office. So you had the President of the country and the Prime Minister in one compound,
In the same space. Yes.
in the same space. Just imagine that. So this party, the PDC, that say, oh, we love the other races so much. We love them so much. Of course, they took a prime minister, and he's of African descent, and nothing went wrong if they didn't had a vice president. The next one, it's okay if you call the man just prime minister, but the moment that they included the next vice president, they have to recognize the Brigadier General Mark Phillips as the first vice president. Now look at how they recorded Brigadier General Mark Phillips in the National Assembly. They say prime minister.
Yep.
And when it comes to Jagdeo, they say vice president. The
Mm-hmm.
Constitution say any other vice president is other vice president. You have to list him under the category of other vice president. That is the Constitution.
But you notice
So,
we
so,
have one vice president, and so what we're having here is just a cap given to Mark Phillips, but it
so
really ain't got no kind of weight. Prime
correct.
Minister, as a matter of fact, let me say to you, Mr. Sharman, to our viewers, whenever we're in Parliament, you would see Mark Phillips coming in and he has maybe two bodyguards with him. But whenever Jagdeo steps into parliament, he got four, two in front and two behind, and Jagdeo in the middle. And
Right.
everybody there on the PPP side, they go and they surround Jagdeo. Jagdeo is the boss.
Correct. So what you're seeing manifesting before your eyes, and look, I don't want to. If you notice, I called on the speaker, the Honorable Mansour Nadir, to address this anomaly, right or wrong. I'm seeing it as a wrong. I call on the Deputy Speaker Schumann. The Deputy Speaker was nominated by the Honorable Prime Minister, by the way, Mark Phillips, to be
Hmm.
Deputy Speaker. Now, these
Yes.
people are not coming to the rescue of our African descent Prime Minister. This
No.
party that claim that they're for all races take away the recognition, the constitutional recognition from this Prime Minister of African descent in the decade of international decade of people of African descent.
Yep. Yep. Hmm.
And so this is the impasse that I'm speaking about. This is what I know. I didn't say why the people from the opposition benches are not object, because I know you don't like him anyway. Right? So if you're going to be insulted on their side, let him be insulted on their side. But maybe this is the case for the Honorable Rice Ford, who's running for the chairmanship of the PNCR to take up the mantle. You see, the Equal Rights and Justice Party took it up because that is the party name, Equal Rights and Justice. I am giving justice to the Prime Minister, the Honorable Mark Phillips, that he must be recognized as Guyana first vice president. Any other vice president must be treated as other. And so I believe this is a serious conspiracy. People don't understand what what is happening here. For such things to happen, somebody had to say to the National Assembly that they must record him as such, because the National Assembly would have known how they recorded the Honorable Moses Nagamutu for as Vice President and Prime Minister. What happened? Did President Muhammad Ali had a discussion with Mark Phillips and tell him he must step down as first vice president? Are he part of this conspiracy? Or he didn't know he this was being done, this injustice was being done to him? Why is Jagdeo himself not saying, look, if the assembly made the error, the clerk of the National Assembly made the error, look, address me as other vice president.
And
You
well,
know,
yes, let's correct that.
let's correct that.
But
But if
the man is greedy for power. So
yes,
you
that
wouldn't
is the
have him
point.
saying that.
No, well, let us see how they so love the Guyanese of African descent
Hmm.
that he
Hmm.
went to Ghana. You know, you see the optics of things. People don't understand the optics, and Jagdi is a man of optics. People don't
Yes.
understand him.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
he goes with the president Muhammad Ali, and he goes to Queens, New York, and he have meetings and so on, and being introduced to senators and congressmen, and people saying, here, this is the vice president. They believe the two top posts of Guyana is the president and vice president.
And vice president, yes.
He went to Ghana, and the two top posts is president and vice president. Why didn't they allow Mark Phillips to go with him? Because I sure he may be a descendant, of the people of Ghana. Because most of our um, you know, um, African ancestry would have generated basically from that part of Africa. Why you don't respect the people of Ghana to say, we carrying a son of yours to negotiate? Why Jagdeo
Because
had to be the one to go there
because
and negotiating the for a team to come to Guyana to assist us with island gas? You know what's
yeah.
gonna happen? If
Uh-huh.
anything should happen to the island gas sector, you're gonna blame them,
Yes.
right? And so it's all about optics and games. So I could recall before he flew out to Ghana, he had a interview on Facebook with critic, and the interview was about the $250,000 that he was
Hmm.
given to the severed. sugar workers. Now, Jaglio, a day or two before, had made that announcement in Skeldon that he's going to give 7,000 sugar workers 250,000. Now, I don't know what authority have to do that. Because that authority would only rest probably in only one person, the president, and the second, the minister of finance, right? But here he's going to Borby saying 250,000 man going to 7,000 several sugar workers that receive severance pay,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
you know? And then he went to this critic program and he allowed critic to say in Barbies, 7,000 people going to get 250,000 and over 1,700 people from Region 3 going to get the next 250,000. I don't know how they get the numbers, but something wrong. But where they get the money from? But isn't this the I pass to the people that you have 10 billion sitting there since January in the national treasury of the country for public servants, but you can't give them. But out of the blues, something that is not in your manifesto, that you never talk about or never thought about, you just wake up one morning and say 250,000 going to these people, and they're going to get it in January.
Well, I
This is
was
like
going to
that.
ask you about that a little later, but I want us to wrap up on this whole all these anomalies that are being happening in that are allowed to happen in the National Assembly. The thing is, this regime, they talk about democracy and transparency, and they are government of the people, and they talk about this one Guyana. But those are only talks, because we are seeing their actions every day, and we can list them in areas where you have the coalition, the coalition stronghold. We have seen it with the distribution of the COVID funds. In areas again where you have the coalition stronghold, we've seen the discrimination with the flood relief. We have seen that you have the hard evidence there, where persons who never throw a seed in the ground, their names are down as being farmers, and the people who have actually suffered, they have not received any help. Or some of them, they've gotten a 50,000, 100,000, and you got other people receiving millions of dollars. So this whole thing about the PPP, like you said, is about the optics. And they're good at that. They're good at sitting and talking and talking and talking. But when we look at their actions, it's totally different. When we look at the way in which, again, Mark Phillips is being treated, he is the third class citizen. And very often I would say to him in Parliament, Mark, what number are you? Because you are number two. What number you at really? Because you notice Anil is in front of him, Gail is in front of him, Ashni is in front of him, even Mustafa in front of him. So sometimes I ask him, where are you? What number you be ready, boy? And people don't understand this thing. But the PPP are good at camouflaging things. They're very good at that. And we have to be careful. We have to watch them. We have to ask them and make them be accountable for everything that they're doing wrong in this country. Because these were the people who spoke about the coalition, and the coalition are riggers, and the coalition, they're this and they're that and they're the other. All the kinds of derogatory names that you could think about, they called the ministers within the coalition and the coalition supporters. And we are here today, and we're seeing, since the return of the PPP, when we talk about the health system, all those, we had stop points going into every region. You had those stop points where you had to stop, they checked your temperature and all these things. Since they came into power, that has stopped. And we saw the rise in the numbers, the COVID deaths, and increased cases. Since the PPP came back into power, we have seen numerous deaths, whether it's death by accident, murders, rob, all kinds of things we are seeing after they would have returned. Now we are seeing again the return of maternal deaths, increase in maternal deaths. And nobody is doing anything about it. Just a couple of days ago, we've seen that the curfew time has gone to 12 o'clock now. And we're talking about wanting to curb this the spread of COVID. How can we curb the spread of COVID when we keep extending the curfew time? This is somebody is sick somewhere. But like you were saying, Mr. Sharma, when we talked about the 250,000, here is it we're talking about 250,000 for persons who have already received severance payments. But you got the poor working class people, the public servants, which includes teachers and nurses, the same policemen and women who they're dragging out to do all kinds of things to people. No increases for them. Your take on that?
Well, that is what I'm alluding to. And as I said, this critic program that he was on, the hour or few hours before he departed the country to Ghana, the program was on the 250,000 for the several worker, each of the several workers. And what was astonishing to me is when the question was asked to him what it represents, his response was, as President Muhammad Ali would have called, reparative justice.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, he didn't use the reparative thing. He said it was it was reparatory justice, right? So here he's recognizing that he's given the sugar workers this 250,000, and this man here is given reparatory justice, and he's going now to Ghana like if he's some hero or something like that. That is what he actually said.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know the opposition that picked up with it. Probably don't listen to the critic program. I don't listen to it. It was someone called me and said, "Listen, Jack Views at this program and it's talking only 250." And I know you were a minister of finance. You're gonna want to know about it. So it was alarming when he would say that is the purpose. Now it's more alarming to me if the Indo-Guyanese people don't understand what is Jagyu actually saying, because reparation, what it's about, it's making amends for something wrong that you did and you
Mm-hmm.
recognize that you have done. So he can't make amends for our injustice. He has to make amends for his injustice.
Here's
So
the
he's
justice.
saying in 23 years, he treated the sugar workers poorly, right? His
And that was
government.
all right. And it
And
was
no,
okay.
and he's giving only 250 for that. Okay? He can't make amends for us. Okay? He's making amends for what he did because he treated them poorly. He closed down a number of factories. He
Mm-hmm.
closed down a number of estates. Okay? He did all of that.
I want you
But
to, Mr.
but
Sharma, I want you to stress on that so that the viewers out there would understand that sugar estates were not closed by the coalition as the first attempt in closing them. Sugar estates were first closed when? You tell us when.
it was closed throughout the period of the 23 years of the PPP.
Exactly.
Uh, th- there was a national developed strategy draft that was indicated that no other than Cherry Dragon himself that was contemplating to close all the estates, starting with Wales.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? This is documented. So the PVP are playing games with the sugar workers' life and
Yes.
livelihood because
Mm-hmm.
that is the voting machinery. That is where they get the votes from.
Yeah.
Okay? So you think if the PPP would have won the 2015 election, they would have done anything better for the sugar workers? Matter of fact, people fail to realize who really destroyed the industry, and it's the PAPC. If we came into office, the president took the oath the 16th of May 2015, and then the CEO, which is a PAP CEO, who was a chairman of Gaisuku, but he wanted the big dollars as CEO, so he took the CEO job. He was a chairman for Gaisuku and living in New York. I don't know
Yeah.
if he was a CEO for Gaisuku and also living in New York, but this is
Mm-hmm.
the man, Rat Singh, who came to the Minister of Agriculture.
Yeah.
And he said, Minister, this is the word he said to the Minister of Agriculture, the Honorable Holder. He said, the entire industry will close if you don't get so much billions. And there's where we know, there's when we know as a government that the industry was in serious crisis
Mm-hmm.
because we started to interrogate him, and then he started to reveal that it was already in a case of a comatose. It was in a coma. So we took over this country in 2015 with a dead sugar industry,
Yes.
with a dying rice industry, because Venezuela cut that arrangement that they had
Mm-hmm.
for
Yep.
the barter arrangement, the petrocarb arrangement. They didn't tell the people these things. So when we came in, we had to deal with those things. We came in, we met the flood. The flood was so impactful because why? The drainage and alleyways was not cleared for decades. The
Decades. That's
outfall was not clear, you know, and we had to deal with these things. So this is the optics. They had the money in the treasury. They didn't spend it in relation to Gaisuku. They spent it where? They spent it on the Marriott. They spent it on a fiber optic cable.
yeah.
They
Yes.
spent it on the Burmese Bridge,
Mm-hmm.
right? They spent it on one laptop per family. If you look at all these expenditures, it's billions and billions of Ghan dollars. All of them failed.
All.
All
All
of
of
them
them.
failed. Okay? That is where they spend the money. But they didn't spend it in the sugar estates. Matter of fact, they leave some money in the consolidated fund for us, for optics. To
Hmm.
say when they leave the country was doing well. Even gold wasn't doing well when we came in.
That's true.
When we saw the situation with the gold board, it was shocking. But the optics is that, look, we left a treasury. The financial position was this. The reserve was this amount at Bank of Guyana and so forth. They wanted, this is the optics, but they didn't say to you, they know the crisis that was beforehand. They never said to the people what was the crisis. Doomsday was upon Guyana. They never said that to the people. Okay? So we came into government, and is no more subsidized fuel. We had to use our reserve to purchase fuel.
Mm-hmm.
We had to ensure that GRA is managed in such a way that it will bring in taxes into the country, revenue. We had a guy Suku that didn't pay the people NIS. We had to go ensure the NIS is paid up, because
Mm-hmm.
when the people was actually now and the industry was actually now in the process of what we'll say right sizing. Person wants to know about the contribution and the benefits, and so NS could not give them because they used to take the people employees portion of the NIS and pay them back in salaries. They never paid GRA. They used to take the people GRA and pay them back in salaries. The same thing they did at University of Guyana, you know. So we had to set all these things straight. We had to get money now for fuel. We had to get monies to bail out guys to billions. Just imagine what we did, and we did not use any money from oil and gas. We did not use the money. They're now campaigning. They did not touch any money from oil and gas too. So what's the big deal? We didn't touch it, but we didn't borrow the amount of debt they borrowed.
That's true.
Okay, they indebted this country. You talk about debts, you talk about COVID debts rising, talk about the debt ceiling that is rising in this country. You
And
know?
so, Mr. Sharma, you would agree with me when the Honorable Raphael Trotman called him the Doctor of Doom.
Yes,
You
correct.
would agree with me that we're back to those days where the Doctor of Doom is on the rampage. And if we don't watch ourselves, our ordinary people will suffer even more. Because you notice what is happening. All the huge contracts are going to their friends. We are seeing Trinidadians, we are seeing all kinds of people coming into this country, and they're getting huge contracts. And the people right here are not getting any contracts. So it's really a day of doom in this country that has been led by the Doctor of Doom.
As I said, also, Coretta, honorable member, I said, optics again is playing out. A lot of people complained to me and said, Jaipal, we collect the rightful amount that we're supposed to collect from the flood relief. They
Mm-hmm.
said people, they said rice farmers, they're rice farmers, yes, but never planted rice to suffer loss, but they collected.
We collected, yes.
Okay? This rice farmer, but they never planted rice. The land was there, but they never planted the rice, but they get any money. So you're right. A lot of people is disgruntled because they've seen the unfairness. People not even getting 25,000. It's over a year now they're sharing 25,000 COVID money and the people can't get it.
Yeah,
People still have
people
pink
can.
slips.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is
Yes,
a shame
that's
and
true.
disgrace. This is a shame and disgrace of the indictment on this PVPC government. Apparently, they're the 25,000 grand government. They like to share 25,000. They didn't give any increase in salaries in
Uh-huh.
2020. You know what they give? A 25,000 grant. And that grant was also given to Gaisuku workers. Okay?
It's it, it's amazing the way you hear these people talk about being the government. Sorry, being the government who care. This is the government because we care, and this is the way you're treating ordinary people. This is the
Now,
way you're treating ordinary people. No, you're saying to you've not given any increases to the public servants, but you are demanding that if the public servants don't want to take the vaccines, that they have to go and do the COVID test. And you're saying how often these tests must be done. And you're also dictating where they must go to have these COVID tests. Now, how you expect the poor and ordinary people to live in this country?
well, as you see again, it's optics. They give it with this and hand, and they take it back with that hand.
Yes.
And so you saw what they did there, a $25,000 per test, a PCR test. When they give you
Mm.
125,000, they want you to go and take 8 tests a month. They give you 125,000 a
Yep.
year, and they
Yep.
want you to go and take 8 tests, 25,000 a month. Then, of course, is the friend is given the test, so he's
Yep.
benefiting. So
Yes.
guess what? They reduce the amount to 15,000. Like if that's going to help us in any way, you know. So again, the bleeding, the poor and ordinary people. But listen to this, Coretta, honorable member. Look, the rice farmers are receiving a bulk of the bulk or the glut of the flood relief. The rice farmers. I have no problem with rice farmers. They basically our supporters. However, rice farmers would have complained to me, and this is the optics which people don't understand. While the rice farmer is not collecting that 50,000, 100,000 it gives the cash crop farmers, kitchen garden farmers, and so on. They collect a million, 2, 3, 4, 5 million, and so
Mm.
on.
Yep.
But that money have to go to the landlord overseas. And that is what they're saying to me. Because the rice land is not owned by the people that till
By
in the land,
by the people. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
right? It is owned by foreigners in America and Canada. That is their supporters here. Guyanese, of course, living in America and Canada. That is their supporters that voted for them. So when they give that thing was indirectly put monies in the hands of their support
They're
base
supported.
in the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
diaspora. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is the reason why the farmers are not hype up and jumping up the rice farmers because they have to now take that money and post it out. Or the people will come and visit and they have to give them that money. That is a shame and disgrace, Coretta. And people don't understand what is happening. And so the APNU AFC government, you know, we had increased the price for land rates and so on for those lands. And the PAP with a whether we on us on our back and said we increase these things to punish any people. But while we were taking at $4,000 or $2,000 an acre, those same rice farmers was giving those people $50,000 an acre, right? Sometimes, sometimes even more. So what we wanted to do was to take those lands away from those persons and put it in the hands of the rice farmers, right? And that would be a gradual process. But guess what? Those rice farmers never want to say who is the actual owner of the land, because if the owner talk, the people would not give them the land to plant
Again, yes.
again. So you understand what's happening. So a lot of people complain about the wrongs and again the optics, and this is an optics government. So you have to be very careful that how they put things over. If you buy them, you fall for the lies, and you're going to end up in the same position that they had us for 23 years.
Uh-huh.
So the APU AFC government, from the instance from 2015, we start giving increases in salary, and I could remember, honorable member Beretta, that when Minister Jordan would have read, of course, the ministers would have known already that this would have been something that would have been announced. Is the sweeper cleaners who were getting,
Less
little
than,
next
yes.
to nothing.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
We had people in 2015 who minimum wage was $34,540.
Yes. Uh-huh.
The government, AP new government say from this day onward, your salary is automatically 50,000.
Uh-huh.
That person automatically get a $17,000 increase. I'm putting an increased it, a percentage, and we went on in 2016, in 2017, in 2018, and 2019. In 4 years, we have given the public servants at the lowest level 77% increase.
That's true.
Just imagine what we did. We moved old age pension from $13,175 in 2015, and we carried it all the way to 20,500. Public assistance, we moved. When you move minimum wage, automatically the minimum wage of NIS pensioners increase, because the NIS pension, the minimum pension, is half of the minimum wage of the country. Okay? So
Yeah.
you checked out the 4,000 divided by 2, you're going to see what was the minimum wage, the minimum pension for NIS pensioner. And you check
Yes.
50,000 divided by 2, and that was the first increase. Okay? So this is what we have done for the people of this country, public servant. We bailed out guys Suku with from the treasury that is in excess of $30 billion, maybe close to $35 billion in that 3 year span. 3 years, we give them that, and then we enter an arrangement to borrow money. But of course, that money was not in the treasury. That money was in NISL. We borrowed $30 billion. So check for the 530, $65 billion for Gaisuku alone. But that 30 billion was to, of course, put Gaisuku in a profitable position by Gaisuku now producing plantation white or white sugar, which they would sell to the CARICOM market. They would have a cogen facility where they would generate electricity, and they would have um, other other activities that would generate income. Okay, so that was the plan for Gaisuku. So we didn't leave Gaisuku out like that. Plus, when we sever those workers, is the next five to 6 billion went to those workers. So all that money was going into the economy.
So, Mr. Sharma, you were saying to the viewers here that when the sugar workers were severed, they received their severances, unlike what the vice president is saying.
No, they see it's optics again, and they didn't receive the severance immediately.
I
There
know.
was a
Yeah.
delay in the payment of the severance because Gaisuku is a company. It's a state-owned company, yes, but the state-owned company have assets. Okay, it's a business, and if you're going to wind up your company, well, then it's from those money from the disposal of your assets you actually pay to the workers. But we didn't do that because when Gaisuku themselves say we cannot fetch 17,000 workers any longer, and we said, what is your proposal? And they say they're going to right size the industry to make it more profitable. We listen to the plan and we work with it. Now, Gaisuku is they have a board, they have a CEO, and they say that they're going to now issue letters of severance to the workers. Okay. Now, Gaisuku would issue that Gaisuku didn't have money to pay the people, so they run to us. But of course, we didn't budget for these things, so we couldn't pay it immediately because we were bailing them out. As I said to
All the
you,
time.
the average we were given to Gaisuku was $1 billion a month. $1 billion a month, and that $1 billion was to go to pay. I think 600 to 700 million used to go to pay wages and salary, and the 300,000 is go to service debt, like loans from the bank.
Wow.
Okay, and to
Okay.
purchase fertilizer and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I used to see these figures because I'm in Ministry of Finance. So actually they had meetings with me directly. The CEO of Gaisubu would have had meetings with me directly, right? So
So, Mr. Sharma, before you continue, actually, we can conclude by saying the coalition government paid even more attention to Gaisuko than it paid to any other sector of worker
and
of
that
workers in
and
in
that
the
is
other
why,
sectors.
right? That is why for those first 3 years we could not done so much for the people. We could not give them the housing that we had promised. We couldn't give them all the roads and bridges and fix all the defenses and the lights and the water. We did, but we couldn't do as much as we
As you would
wanted
want
to
to.
do because we were giving all this money to Gaisuku. Is when we decided to sever Gaisuku in terms of we said you're not going to have a claim on the treasury any longer. And we said you will deal with NISIL. NISIL going to borrow this 30 billion and you and Nestle would have an arrangement how you're going to invest this money and develop Gaisuku. There is when the government of Guyana started to breed. Then is when you actually had work happening, right? So people got to understand this situation. So you check the PPP. They so love the sugar workers. The sugar workers voted for them. Those that were severed too voted for them, right? How much money they give them for subsidies in 2020? You're a parliamentarian. How much they give? How much they
Well,
give for 2021?
the thing is, what they would have done is that they try, like you said earlier, the
No,
vice
no,
president he
no. I'm
goes
saying
into their areas and he's like we would normally say he sweet talk them, give them a whole lot of sweet talks.
no. I'm saying that
But
they're in government for over a year now. Since August is over a year, right? So August and now is over a year. I believe they would probably from the treasury only give about 7 billion in
I think
relation to the
yeah,
AP
just
and
over
UAF.
7 billion.
In relation to the AP and UAFC that had given them for that
Yeah,
same period about 12 to 13 billion already.
$1 billion. Yes.
So
And, and
these are
so
not,
this is the thing, like you rightfully said, when the coalition government was giving to them, it wasn't a big thing. You hadn't these big announcements. But as soon as the PPP government they're ready to give to the sugar workers, you have this big announcement and all this press conference. Again, it's about the optics, but they really don't care about the people. Really don't care
no,
about the people.
they don't care about the people. So this $250,000 is basically to wash shame from themselves because they had campaigned that when they are reelected as a government, that they go open all the estate that was closed. That is the promise. They didn't promise the people $250,000 a year, which work out to about 20,000 a month. They promised the people jobs. You have the vice president, whatever you call him, the second vice president or other vice president. If you're using the constitution, you call him other vice president. So I always get annoyed. You ask why I made that post? Because every time people call him vice president, the reporters of this country, and people say refer to him as vice president, I get so angry because
Yes.
I know for a fact you cannot address him like in that manner, right? So Coretta, you speak about uh, breaches of the Constitution. There are many more breaches. They have a set of ministers sitting in the government right now, who I believe, the Honorable Riser Ford should carry them to court for holding that position because of the fact that these ministers, quite a few of them, are what you refer to as constituency member of parliament. Now, a constituency member of parliament must be from his or her constituency.
Yeah.
Guyana have 10 administrative regions for election purpose. The 10 administrative region is looked at as 10 constituencies. So you have region 1 is its constituency for for the constituency 1 and so
One.
forth to continue. So now I am from Georgetown, I am from Diamond. This is region 4, it's constituency 4, right? I vote in 4. Matter of fact, I vote where I live on the East Bank. So if my party wins the election and you pull me as a minister, you can't say I'm a minister and I am from the constituency 1, which is region 1,
When you live in four.
but I live in 4 because
Mm-hmm,
I probably had my parents in region 1. I have my wife in region 1 or whatever I
Some,
had. I had used to
some
live
of
in
them ain't got nobody there. Some of them
no,
don't have anybody there.
no, no. I given them the benefit of the doubt. But the fact that I myself voted in this region, I can't go and represent a person in the next region. So you have a few ministers like that, quite a few.
Quite a few years, that's true.
Yes. So, you know, I think this should be challenged. Those persons, they need to rearrange themselves, right? So they can't be. It's a matter of fact, it's about 3 or 4 of them from region 4, and they have them region 3, they have them
Region
region
four.
1, they have
Yes,
them all over the place, right?
yes.
So that is the next post I'm gonna put there for people to see. Now, I also have a problem, Coretta, with the vice president. Again, this is not how he is addressed in the National Assembly of not under the caption of other vice president, but this is the fact when they gazetted him as vice president. Something is seriously wrong there. So I'm gonna put the next post about that to explain it, but I'm gonna give you an idea. So I was a minister within the ministry, right? For two ministries, not at the same time, of course. But my in the gazetted order, my responsibility will be to assist the minister. It have nothing other than that. Okay? My
Mm-hmm,
responsibility is to assist
mm-hmm.
the minister. Because the senior minister is the one who's responsible, not me.
Not you. Yeah.
So I'm not responsible for all these things that the senior minister have control over. I need to assist him. If he call me and say, do this, do that, go here, go there, I do that. That is a that is a minister within, right? That's the function of a minister within. You don't
Mm-hmm.
specify it. Now the vice president is like that. The vice president is like that. You're not supposed to specify anything. The Constitution say the president appoint vice president to assist him or her in executing the activities, the function, but you don't specify which function. When I look in the Gazette, It have a whole set of things under this man.
under this man. That's true.
Guess what?
That is true.
Including finance. Now,
Hmm.
under the president, his responsibility that is gazetted too, and it say what he will look at as president. But under the president is not finance. So how you get a vice president if you list in it, but you're supposed to list it, but you list in finance something that is not under the president. What is happening?
Well, the
So
thing is, Mr.
these
Sharma,
these are things need to be challenged in court. So here again is the optics. So you have a minister, a senior minister within the office of the president, and you said responsible for finance. What nonsense is that? Why you don't call the man minister of finance? So
and
white
but you
people
also but you also have a senior minister of finance.
know. You see, this is really gone contrary.
Hmm.
They just this minister of finance, this senior minister, he's not a minister of finance. He's a senior minister within
Within the
the office
within
of
the
the president. It
with
means
responsibility
basically
for finance
you could assign any responsibility to him because he floated,
because he's
right?
floating.
Right. So you now assign the responsibility of finance to him. But under the responsibility of this vice president is finance.
so so that's he's the real minister of
Right.
finance.
He's the real Minister of Finance. Now, what this government did is to make the Ministry of Finance annex the office of the president.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay? So Ministry of Finance is not independent any longer. They're now a department of the office of the president. And why you think they did that? Transparency and accountability.
And but Mr. Sharma,
Control
I remember
freakism.
I remember when the coalition was in power, and when they were government, and the coalition had a couple of ministries falling under the ministry of the presidency. This same regime made a whole lot of noise about it. Plenty noise they made about it. But you see, again, like you said, they're all about control freakism, and when they can't get it, it's a big noise. But I noticed I recognize we're running out of program time. And Mr. Sharma, I just want you to shed some light on this aggrieved situation that we're having here right now. We have our public servants who've worked all of last year, almost all of this year, and not a single recognition has been given to them with regards to salary increases. And we heard the same vice president or the vice president talked about, he was challenging, somebody was challenging and saying, yes, the increase is right there in the budget, this is right there, but workers have not received any increases. I know I can speak for teachers. Teachers have gotten accustomed to receiving their increase at the beginning of the year. We have seen 2 Januaries passing, no increases, and you're not hearing any talks of it. As a matter of fact, this same installed regime spoke during their campaign, when they were on campaign trail, that they are going to reinstitute consultations with trade unions and this, that, a whole lot of things, just like they promised the 50% increase. We've seen nothing happening. As a former Minister of Finance, give us your take on this in 3 minutes.
Oh, Albert Corretta, you would recognize what is happening here, and you know the history of the PAPC government and trade unions of this country, and you know the behavior. If it wasn't for the disturbance we had during the elections in 1997 and so forth, and in 1992 when the government had changed, and they had to force them to come to the table to grant increases in wages and salary, and actually put it into an accord. It's only then the PPP came to the table to give those huge increases.
Yeah.
If you look at the increases from 1992 to to when the last was in office in 2015. You're gonna notice that those increases was because of an accord that they had, because CARICOM would have intervened and they said that they would have to give these increases. Okay, but when it was on their own, they never had consultation with
Nope.
the unions in relation to what is the increases that will be contemplated. They never had negotiation. So they always have this arbitrary increase of 5% across the board. And it's always
Mm-hmm.
come when it's Christmas. And so this government here, the President Muhammad Ali himself saying, look, I'm saying to the people of Guyana that you're gonna get your increase come December. See, saying it again is arbitrary. There will be
Mm-hmm.
no meeting with the Ministry of Finance and the
And
public
the
service
union.
with the unions. No
Mm-hmm.
sitting
Mm-hmm.
on the table, but yet
Nope.
there's $10 billion there sitting. And I know the various union could say what share of the pie is that for them, because you know the size of your unions, you know
Yeah.
your membership, you know the employees, and you could already start working that out. But I can tell you what they're gonna give you. Since they didn't give you anything for 2020 and 2021 yet, the best shot they want to give you close to a 10%. Okay, so close to 10%. But I could be wrong. It could be 5%. And they're going to and they're going to they're going to ensure that they're going to be across the board. Because once across the board, their 5% or 10%, their back pay going to be millions of dollars.
Yes,
Okay?
yes. And this is what our viewers need to understand, that when the PPP, every time the PPP come around, they only come around to gain wealth for themselves and not for the poor class people. When they talk to the poor class people is when they want you to vote for them. Other than that, they don't have time for you. And so, yes, this across the board increase that they're going to give, they are going to be the real beneficiaries of
Beneficiary.
the increases and not the poor class. And so, Mr. Sharma, on this note, I want to say thank you for being here with us. I know we have to do more of this again because our time was not enough for us to get really into what we wanted to talk about. But I'll take a quick comment from you in closing.
Correct. It's my pleasure to be here on your program. You're doing a wonderful job. I must say, every single member of parliament from the APNU AFC, I watch your performance in the National Assembly, when you're out of the assembly, the work that we're doing on the ground, such programs, because they remove that opportunity from the opposition from gaining access to the state media, that we have to revert to such a
Yes,
platform, social
yes,
media. And I'm so happy that it took the opportunity, each and every one of you, to participate in such promotion of your, your various disciplines, your various responsibilities. You're doing a wonderful job. Some of the program are very amusing. It makes me smile and laugh a lot, because how they portray these information, so it becomes something relaxing to and entertaining at the
yes.
same time, while you being informed of what is happening to you in the country. So I want to say to you guys, each and every one of you, continue to do what you're doing. And we got to thank a person like Mark Benchop for giving a lot of us the opportunity, members, to be on this radio program, to use his channel, and Mark himself for doing such a wonderful job. We have other persons of interest, and colleagues from United States, like Rick from Burke and so many others,
So many
that
others.
are assisting in what way that they can, to highlight the plight of what is happening in Guyana. And we need to do more programs such as these, Honorable Member Teresa McDonald, so the public could be aware of what is happening to them. People don't know what is happening to them, and they don't care. You know why? Because they're punishing so much that they can't. They don't have time to think about what is happening to them.
Mhm, mhm.
All what they have to think about is how they're going to feed themselves and their family tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes, yes.
So, so we live in day by day. So nobody don't bother with the government. The government could sell this whole country out, give all the contracts to whoever they want. Nobody cares. If you can't have local content in giving out contracts for bridges and roads and buildings, how can you get content in the oil and gas sector?
Mhm, mhm,
So the
mhm.
first thing to ensure that local content come to what we recognize in Guyana as work that we can do. You know, when they build the Marriott, what happened? Not a Guyanese get a job until the people. I went to protest there. They got a couple of our Guyanese brothers and sisters to push wheelbarrow.
Yes, that is true.
You know, so this is
And
what is happening.
and even now with the few that they have there, the amount of pressure they put them under and they work them out like slaves. And these are the things that we really need to talk about. But I
And
recognize
Clarissa,
that our time has really come for
let
now.
me
But let
just
me
say
take
this. Let me
mhm,
just say this because all these houses that they claim that they're giving out, you know, we developed house that we didn't happen to give them out. So what they're giving out is lot numbers, not house lots. Anybody who collected a actual house lot, they went and physically saw and verify it and build a fence or something or build something on the land already. That's a house lot. It was developed under the AP and UFC. What they
yeah.
given is house lot numbers.
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
And
okay.
in this is corruption because one of those house lots on our time would have cost like about 3 million to develop. I believe that under their administration it's costing much more. And so more house not they give up is given out, sorry, is more contracts to their people. And
Your
that we
friends.
don't know who gets in that contract. So don't celebrate to say, oh, you get in these house lots, you're paying for it. But at the same time, simultaneously, contracts are being awarded to their people to do the clearing of those lands, the development of those lands. And you don't know about it. So the questions to be asked in the National Assembly is about those contracts because those contracts don't pass through the National Tender Board,
No, no. Well,
right?
Mr. Sharma, I really want to thank you for being here with us. My operator would have already signaled to me twice. So we're going to do this again. Viewers, thank you for being with us. I know you were well informed tonight, like you're always informed. And we're going to keep you posted with relevant information as we continue to advance the cause. Again, to our Hindu brothers, especially and sisters, happy Diwali to you. And to all of Guyana, happy Diwali to you. May you use tomorrow as the day to truly reflect on where you can use that bright light to disperse darkness. Good night to you. Take care. Remember, COVID kills. So wear those masks and wear them correctly. Wash your hands quite often and thoroughly. And if you have to be out, stay away from huge crowd. This is all for now on Advancing the Cause. See you again next week. Goodbye. God love you. I okay. So we're off now. We're gonna go off now.